Well, attention is on Apple today at its annual keynote event in San Francisco. That's where the company's unveiling lots of new technology. Notably, though, their newest iPhone.
For more on the new toys and features, we're joined by CBS News contributor and NewYorker.com editor Nick Thompson. What has wowed you so far?
Well, so far they're just getting to the wow part. You know, right now, Johnny Ive with the British accent is talking about the glass and the aluminum and the incredible engineering in the iPhone 7, and the crowd is going nuts. They're just beginning that. So the first hour of the Apple event was sort of a slow build-up. iWork, you can now work and collaborate with other people, which is something Google Docs could do 5 years ago. Then we introduced the Apple Watch. Actually looks pretty cool. They've made it totally waterproof. That was really neat. Best thing I've seen so far, the way that the Apple Watch ejects water is through the actual speaker system. When water gets in the watch, the speakers push it out. That seems really good. You can play Pokemon in your Apple Watch. It seems pretty fun. You're probably less likely to walk into a wall because the watch is a little more convenient than looking at your phone, right? You're probably less likely to get run over. So big advantage there. Then a lot of talk about re-engineering the second edition of the watch for athletes, for runners, as a fitness device. So that's where we are so far in the arc of the big Apple event, and we'll know more in a little while about the actual phone. They're just getting to. A lot of self-congratulations so far. The ratio of self-congratulations to really
Actual
cool innovations, pretty low. Like the adverb to innovation ratio is not great right now, but we'll see what it is at the end of the day.
We're an hour into this event. There's a lot of congratulations going around.
Oh my God,
here.
this thing about Apple events, like they should do it in an hour, you know,
Yeah,
in and out,
yeah.
be an efficient company, but they see it basically as, you know, it's their sort of long-running home advertisement for the rest of the country. They've got like 2 hours of our attention. I think they're just going to get longer. As they have fewer innovations, they're just going to keep like jacking the length.
So tell me about this Apple Watch. Were the sales good? I mean, I know a lot of people who got it, and then I feel like my small sample size of like 10 people who bought it, they just wasn't that great.
Right.
How are their sales doing, and is this new model enough to get people more excited?
Okay, so Apple would claim their sales are fantastic, and they can actually make an objective case for it, right? They are now the second highest watch sales of any company in the world. That's pretty incredible for a company that's been out for 18 months. On the other hand, they are nowhere near what people expected. I mean, I view the Apple Watch as it's not a failure. It's a good product. I think I know a couple people who like it, but it's not remotely the success that they wanted, that they expected, and that most of the world thought was going to happen. The watch came out, and you know, what is it really good for? It's good for notification.
Right, but this is interesting, the whole fitness component, because the fitness industry is big, and people are very obsessed with monitoring their heart rate. What can you tell with this new fitness component to it?
I think it's probably a smart move. I mean, I think that is the most important thing you can do with your Apple Watch, and that is what a lot of people like. That is the feature people liked, and they really liked, you know, with an Apple Watch, the way you reach your goal, this little circle comes to completion, as opposed to like you've walked 10,000 steps, right?
Yeah.
People thought that was pretty neat. So now they're making it much more fitness friendly. They're building fitness apps into it. The band is a little more runner friendly. And the most important thing, the thing that I actually like, is they have GPS built into the watch, right? The old watch was totally useless to runners because it doesn't have GPS, and so you have to have your phone with you. Who wants to run with their phone? There's no point, right? You can just use Strava or something. So the watch was useless to me as a runner, so I would never use it. And then I would go home after going on a long run, it would tell me I need to stand up more, and I'd just be like, shut up, watch, right? So that was the problem with the old watch, and they've solved. I'm not sure that it's going to really help.
But it does speak to one of the challenges Apple has. Because so many people have iPhones, they wonder, well, why do I want to get another device, spend more money on something else? And what we haven't heard officially from Apple yet, but has been leaked in a lot of tech websites, is the end of this, right? The Apple earbuds that we've been going on about. These are ubiquitous when it comes to iPhones. We talked about how you can avoid talking to people when you walk on the street when you wear them. But how much of, and it seems as though, because they haven't announced it yet, they will actually make a big deal about it. There's some rumors that perhaps they'll discuss their own type of Bluetooth technology in a more efficient way to charge it remotely. How should Apple navigate an announcement like this?
Well, okay, there are a couple of very interesting questions right there. So this is a huge moment. It's probably the biggest moment that's still to come in this Apple launch. I have no idea whether 2 years from now we'll look back and say this was the dumbest thing Apple ever did. People made it impossible, right? Earphones are now totally inconvenient. Or we'll look back and say, you know what, Apple was the first one to do that, and that was so smart. I really don't know. Complicated question. Another interesting part of your question is Apple doing this to sell more accessories, right? There is a theory going around that the reason they're doing this is to sell more earbuds, right? They're not selling a ton of watches. They're not getting people to upgrade their phones. That, of all, I like conspiracy theories. I'm into most Apple conspiracy theories. This one I don't buy. I don't think they actually care about accessory sales. They only care about the number of phones they sell. I think they care more about having an innovative, magical, important moment than they do about actually increasing their accessory sales. The truth is that Amazon's going to sell a lot of accessories, and Best Buy is going to sell a lot of accessories. Apple Apple doesn't have a monopoly on that market. So that conspiracy theory is not.
But you do acknowledge there, just as we continue to watch the event, we're not listening into it because of Apple's rules, but you acknowledge that this headphones announcement is a risky one.
Oh, it's completely a risky one. It could absolutely irritate customers, and you can see people switching from the 6 to the 7 and saying, well, why did I do that, right? Because remember, the headphone jack isn't just for headphones, right? I use it when I plug in my guitar, right? You want to tune your guitar or record something, right? You use the headphone jack for all kinds of stuff. So now I have to have an adapter. It's another little thing I have to carry with me. Either I like put duct tape and tape it to the phone so I never lose it, in which case the phone is no longer this beautiful sheet of glass, right? Or I forget the adapter, or I buy like 50 adapters, which is what I'll probably end up doing, and then like leaving them in every room I go to and in my office and at home. So I don't know. I don't know if this will be a good thing for Apple when we look back.
Interesting. They said that they've sold 1 billion iPhones already.
Yeah.
Is that a pretty impressive number?
I mean, you can't I mean, you know, for all the criticism I give Apple, and I make fun of their announcements, and I make fun of some of their bad products, the iPhone is probably the greatest product ever created by any company in the history of the world, right? I mean, this is a product that has turned this company almost single-handedly into the richest company in the world, right? All through this iPhone, right? They don't make that many things. They don't sell much of anything else. People love iPhones. It was incredibly innovative. It changed the way smartphones work. We all use it all the time. It's made our lives better. It's made our lives worse, but like, great product. Good job, guys. But now let's go back to making fun of them.
But it also changes Apple from what it was founded as. Instead of being the small guy trying to compete against Windows computers, they are now the dominant industry. And you do have companies like Samsung and software platforms like Android, which have done pretty well to compete with them in the iPhone space, offering many more features. I mean, in many ways, like you've already mentioned, the iPhone is catching up to a lot of Galaxy smartphones as well. The software announcement today, how important is that? Because it's not just a physical device, it's, you know, a plank of glass and metal that we all have. How important should people be looking into what it actually does and how powerful it is?
Well, I think on the software part, I don't think we're going to see incredible innovations. Apple's software innovations are usually pretty good. They make things a little bit better. They're probably not going to get way out ahead of their competitors on that. I like Apple software. Apple software is pretty good. They got a good team of engineers. It's the hardware that's traditionally been more exciting. The transition from Apple into the outsider, challenging Microsoft into the behemoth, is so interesting from a corporate culture angle. And you look at it, it's not just the biggest company and the richest company. It is a big, rich company run by complete control freaks. And they have a huge influence over the way Silicon Valley develops. They absolutely own the market space for phones, which are the most important devices, which means everybody has to go through Apple. They have to get their apps onto Apple. They have to work with Apple in some way. And Apple is a very difficult company with very clear ways they like to do things. So they have not only gone from being the little guy, they've gone to being a really, really bossy big guy. And I think they run their company really well. I think it's run by smart people. I think its influence has generally been benign. But if you were to show Steve Jobs what it had become, he'd be really happy at all the money he'd make and maybe have some questions about the ethics.
So walk us through, Nick. What are the new components here of this iPhone? Give us the overview here.
Well, we don't know yet. It's going on as we announce. All we know right now is Johnny Ive in his sultry voice telling you that it's awesome, right? The things we know are the things that we were told in advance. Most important, the headphone jack, which we've talked about. Memory and storage going from 16 megabytes to 32 megabytes, very important. Much better camera, which will help a lot, actually, the sort of the quality of the photographs as the web becomes more visual, as our lives become more visual. Tools for sorting your images, sort of catching up to Google in that area, very important. Beautiful new look, sleeker, thinner, cleaner. All black is what was told us in advance. I'm not sure if that's sparring with what we're seeing announced right now, but returning to that color palette, which a lot of people liked.
You know what drives so many people nuts are those upgrades where I end up losing all my contacts and the whole phone goes black. Are they doing anything about that?
No, because one of the things, okay, back to conspiracy theory land, right? They need every year for you to want to upgrade your phone, or every 2 years, right? So the ideal business scenario for Apple is to have your phone break about every 2 years so that you upgrade it. Now, that tends to happen, right? Mine fell out of the kid's running stroller while I was, running him yesterday, got run over by a car. Like, that sort of happens because we carry these things with us all the time. I don't think they're going to do a ton of stuff to make sure that your phone lasts more than 2 years. Upgrading your contacts and all that, that's a separate problem, and that's also a super interesting problem, right? So Apple has always been a company geared at making products, at making like specific products with specific launches. They've been really bad at what are called services, right? Like cloud, connecting things, sharing things across devices. And one theory is that they're bad at all of this service stuff because they're so good at hardware stuff. The company is totally set up to launch very specific things on very specific days. They're not set up to run it like a service company with constant iterations and upgrades and changing and moving things all the time. So that's why Apple's cloud services, that's why Apple's music don't work very well when their other parts do well. It's actually part of their DNA. So the reason you're losing your contacts is because they
don't know how to manage it.
They don't have to manage it.
Okay.
Well, Nick Thompson, your insight is great. We will stand by as we expect to hear the announcement of the impending demise of these
Cut the
earbuds.
cord.
Thanks for being
And what does it say about our psychology between the two of us that my cord is all twisted and yours is beautiful, pristine, and
I'll leave
free
that up
of
to the
knots?
viewer.
Just remind you, the movie The Beautiful Mind, the smart guy was the one with the messy room.
Okay, I'll be the dope, no problem. Nick, thanks for being with us.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.